There you are. Today, guys, we're talking the Lomomatic 110, this camera right here, and how I used it on a recent wedding as my behind-the-scenes camera. If you want to check that out and see what 110 can do for you, how surprising could that be? Stay tuned. Let's take a look at it now. Guys, this little Lomomatic 110 camera, I've done several different reviews on it so far. I'm kind of talking about it right now. I want to tell you how much fun I'm having with this camera. I've got quite a bit of film going on in the back over here. Maybe you can see that now. And I'm getting ready to take it on a trip up to New York. I can't wait to share some of that with you. But let's actually talk about how I used this camera as a behind-the-scenes camera, for a recent wedding video, videographer, stuff like that. So walk around the camera real quick just so that you can see it. I got the stainless steel version. We open it up right here. You have your focusing distance, 4 different focusing distance. You have your lens where you sight through the camera, and then a flash. This flash is pretty cool. It comes off, and you can actually set it to different settings right there. Underneath the camera is where you're actually going to set your aperture, f5.6 or f2, and then down here you're going to have your multiple exposure. At least I believe it's f2. I can't remember right now. Day and night. Yeah, it's f2.0. Now I remember. You can do all of that stuff, which is really pretty cool. And for those of you that want to see, there is no film inside of here, but right now you can get a little click, right? And we'll do that multiple exposure one more time for you. And I'll put it on bulb just so that you can see it open. See? There you go. And close and open and do all that stuff. Okay, so a little walk around the camera, just kind of share with you what we were doing and using. Lots of fun with that. Now, out of the 24 shots, I actually just printed 8 takeaways and 8 keepers. However you want to look at it. It's not that all the images didn't come out. They all came out, but these were the ones that I thought were most interesting. Now, let's talk about 110 film. I'm showing you 110 film printed, and I think that is so very extremely important. We're in the day of digital age. I'm looking at cameras. We're in a day of digital age where we've got photography and it's all digital and everything else. 110 looks terrible as a digital image. It looks passable, interesting, nostalgic, cool even. Definitely has a vibe. Definitely has Riz, as the cool kids say. I don't ever say Riz. Definitely is pretty neat when it's printed, and I think that's where it actually shines. There is quite a bit of grain. That's the number one thing. Number 2 is with a camera like this, you have to be very concerned with shutter shake in order to get a sharp image, as well as judging distance. Those are 2 things that are real important, and you'll kind of see that later. But if all you ever do is look at your 110 images online, they're going to kind of suck for the most part. And that's not actually fair. Some 110 cameras, specifically like the, I think it's the Pentax 110, the Auto 110, that has the nice little lenses. It's like an SLR style camera. That thing can get some extremely sharp images because you actually get to focus it rather than guessing focus. And it has a shutter speed that goes up to 1/750th of a second rather than just 1/250th. And so it's a little bit faster. It's a little bit easier to get sharp images because of just the whole system, how you use it. I guess I've said enough about that. What I'm trying to do is dispel the idea that 110 sucks because all you get are images, well, kind of like these. So these are images. Check that out. So this is behind the scenes. None of these are in order, but it's just printed out, right? And so it's blurry. It's out of focus, right? As compared to an image like this. Check this out. Yeah, that's much better, isn't it? You guys actually like that one, don't you? Let me see if I can get you in a little bit tighter without losing any. Yeah, there we go. Check that out. Yeah. So this image, quite a bit nicer image. Wouldn't you agree? Right? And you got to look at it printed. In fact, check out this image, which is okay compared to this image. Man, what a keeper for my bride and groom right here. Now, they didn't purchase any of this stuff. I just was taking this as behind the scenes to show you guys. Okay. We'll talk about developments in a minute, but look, there's some beautiful coloration in the sky up here. You can still see the blues and all that other stuff. And this is taken at nighttime with 200 speed film. We're closing in past golden hour. You can see there's a little bit of that golden sunlight right there. We're outside shooting with those. Really quite nice. Looks very nice, especially when you look at this image. This was the photographer over here. Of course, our groom, our bride, and the assistant photographer. Really great wedding, although I don't know the photographer and the assistant photographer. They did try to get a picture of me. It didn't exactly come out. Let me see if I've got one over here. Yeah, this is what happens when you give to the camera to someone and they're not used to using film, so we kind of get offset. In 110, there are no frame lines, so they're just some concepts you got to think about. But then, wow, check this shot. This is flash inside at the reception, lights off, 200 speed film with flash, just held nice and steady. Look at that. Yeah, it's crazy, right? And then we got something like this, trying to get a selfie outside as compared to a selfie at the beginning of my day, right? And then a selfie in the mirror with the Lomomatic 110 right there, kind of showing the rest of the whole area and some of the people. These are images that I'm showing you that are mixed in between sharp focus and not so sharp focus, and you tell me. Like, here's a cool shot of my bride and groom. I don't necessarily think that it's particularly sharp, right? But it's definitely an interesting, nice image. Here's another one, but for some reason, I cut off the tops of the heads. Here's one of me right after someone almost T-boned me. I had to pull over for a second and compose myself. I thought I was going to... Anyways, it's a whole story. Tried to get a nice shot with the groom, but for some reason, the color was strange on this. I'll talk about that in just a second. And then our photographer, videographer, trying to get a behind-the-scene action shot for her. And just kind of a strange image, I think. Not bad, definitely a lot of character, but you can kind of see some of that lens flare right there. When you think about using 110, if you're not printing and you're just going to post to social media, I think... I suppose it could be great. You could do a good job, but I just don't think that's the best way to enjoy the format. I think you got to print it, especially with the Lomomatic 110. This camera has quite a few features on it that are really nice. I like the bulb mode all the way up to 1/250th. I like the 2 different apertures that I get to set. I definitely love the flash. I love that the flash has 2 different settings. Yes, although this is a completely automatic camera, you actually have quite a bit to set. You can push or pull exposure compensation with your film between plus or minus 1 stop if you use the film ISO selector that way. And you can with most of the film. Most of the film that you're going to use is XR, extended range, or whatever range you want between 100, 200, or 400. So if you set the film at 200, you can overexpose the film in camera or underexpose the film in camera by plus or minus 1 stop. C41 development won't really require you to push or pull it that way. You could, but you could also just develop the film as a 200 speed film, 3.5 minutes in a C41 kit, 8 minutes into fix. Next thing you know, you're said and done. Now, if you want to shoot the whole roll as a pushed or pulled, then yeah, you would have to do some additional processing. I think add an extra stop or 2 stops based on how you rate the film past the exposure. Maybe that's something that I'll try out. But my point is there's a lot that you can do with that, and then add the flash and the bulb combinations. There's a lot that's going on there. The prints come out pretty nice. I think they've got a look to them, a feel to them that's really something else. A lot of what we saw with the grain, with some of the structures, specifically with shots like this one that we were talking about, we were taking in the shade behind the setting sun just before blue hour as golden hour was leaving, and just enough the sun was peeking by to give a little bit of a lens flare. That was kind of neat. Of course, that caused a loss of contrast, which is something that you would expect. That was pretty cool. This shot right here, I don't really know exactly why it came out the way that it did. A strange color cast and hue. Maybe it was something I did when I was scanning it using Silverfast. We'll talk about that in a second. But I suppose I could have done a little bit more with it as far as development in Lightroom. But I just kind of wanted to show you what pictures looked like straight out of the camera. Now, I want to transfer that to one other thing. And these are shots that actually show the lomography. You can get really nice shots just outside, you know, really good color balance and color casts just like that. And then even a shot like this one right here, crazy, right? And then a shot by a tree, you know? So when you shoot with film, of course, the quality of the light is going to dictate quite a bit of what you're going to get. So that's my number one tip. If you're going to use this as a behind-the-scenes camera or anything like that, make sure that you're using it in the conditions and getting the results that you expect. Number two is don't just look at your images online, print them. Now, I printed these using a DNP DS40, which is right here. It's one of my printers. I've got a DS40 and a DS80. So I can print these all day long. Dye sublimation. This is exactly the same type of printer that you'd get if you go to the photo development store like a Walgreens or maybe even a Walmart. They have these really great printers. They have newer versions of them. The DNP, the DS40 and 80s have been out for a long time, but still a really great different type of really great printer. I use it for all my photo packages. Load in different sheets of rolls of paper at different formats with different film packs, which are rolls of the dye sublimation kit, which is just a film which prints these. And then you can get a lot of really cool prints. Now, some of my images, come on in and check this out for me. Some of my images have these lines that go across them. Now, what are those lines? You can see it a little bit better in this one. You can see these magenta lines. Okay, that's a scrape in the actual emulsion. And it's a scrape in the emulsion from when it was being developed. And I think it came from the tank, right? Now, this is something that I'm working on. I'm using that Yankee Clipper 2. I just released a video about how to make it better. It has helped quite a bit, but I got to do some more. I got to develop some more film. And to be honest with you, I don't really like, even though it's kind of got a character, I don't really like the way that the little lines look. I'd prefer them to not be scratched up like that. So I will continue to improve the process with that stupid Yankee Clipper tank and report back so that you don't have to go through the frustration. I don't necessarily mind. And although not great, it is what it is, and it does, I guess, add to the charm. I don't know. You tell me. There was one final thing that you might have seen on those images, and maybe it's not as easy to see here, but at the bottom or along a consistent edge of all the images, there appears to be a color cast shift. Okay? Now, it's probably hard to see on film, on tape, right here for you guys, but it's actually there. And the reason it's there, I can think, is because it's all along one edge. I think when I was filling up my development tank, I didn't fill up with enough developer to properly cover those areas. And the reason is because the Yankee Clipper 2 tank doesn't actually seal. So if you fill it up too much when you're agitating, the developer will spill out the side. Well, that's just something I'll have to deal with in the future because I believe that's exactly what that is. It's the developer, I'm pretty sure. So I'll have to go ahead and fix that in the future. But all in all, a lot of fun with this camera. And I hope that you have enjoyed the video. If you have any comments or questions, leave them down below. I will be doing a trip for Norfolk at night with Lobster, which is that red scale film in the Neon area, the Neon district. And at nighttime with this camera will be difficult because, well, long exposures. So I'll have to figure out how to do that. I can't wait to bring you along for that journey. Guys, I'm Rob. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Bye for now.